Hello, everyone, and welcome to Bludgeon TV. This is Division C playoffs. We have finished with the regular season for Nexus Gaming Series Season 2, and we are starting the playoffs now. This is a quarterfinals match between Witch Rhythm and Frank's Furters. Witch Rhythm being the number 1 seed from the regular season, and Frank's Furters being the number 8 seed. So it's definitely a David versus Goliath situation as far as the stats goes. But you never know what's gonna happen when we get into the game. So tonight, I'm very happy to welcome a co-caster for tonight, Needens. How are you, my friend?
I'm doing well. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Very excited for some playoff action. How about you?
Well, it's going to be a good game. 100%.
I sure hope so. So,
Do
taking a look at the map situation, which rhythm was determined by coin flip to have first map ban and first map pick for game number 1. They decided to ban Dragonshire. Frank's Furters responded by banning Warhead Junction, and as you can see, the map we're going to for game number 1 is in fact Towers of Doom. What do you think about the maps here, Needens?
well, this is a favorite map for a lot of people for one reason is that it's never over until that last quarter shot. There's always a chance to come back on this map. There's no catapult pressure. I've seen plenty of games. I've been part of plenty of games where you have 1, 2, 3 core health left against a large amount, and you can still win it. So those comebacks are definitely possible. Snowballs are possible too, however, and I think this is one of those maps where having a global is usually a top priority. So I'd like to see some kind of global presence from either team, and I think if one team doesn't, they're going to have a pretty big disadvantage. The task ban, I think, is smart. I think Tassadar is just strong overall in any comp, regardless of an auto attack carry or anything like that.
Yeah, so the comeback potential is definitely one of the things that makes this map really exciting. I mean, we could say that about any Heroes map to an extent, that the game never really is over until that last core health is over, but it's certainly more true here than anywhere. You can be down to a couple of core health, but if you somehow manage to get back control of the map, the team fights, you can flip it around. And I've definitely seen matches like that. Now, speaking of the global presence, it's interesting that we haven't seen any bans on that front yet. So we still have Dahaka is up, Falstad is up, Brightwing is up, ETC is up, Abathur is up. So what do you make of that?
I stand ready.
Well, with the task ban and the Vala first pick, I think the tank and healers are the meta right now. So I think this is a really good chance for Witch Rhythm to pick a strong tank, considering the first pick Vala. You gotta assume they're gonna go for a double healer now. The Frankfurters will. So this is a good chance for them to deny a Zarya or an Abathur, and also pick up one of those meta tanks. I mean, any of those you listed. I mean, ETC has always been strong. Boss control is really important. ETC provides that. Murden strong. I mean, you name it. I'd like to see a tank and a healer here, honestly. Maybe a heal deny or a meta healer. Maybe if they go Rhaegar. I think locking in the tank and healer early is a really great way to set yourself up for draft control, and not giving away your cards. Because right now, Frank's Furters just told Witch Rhythm they're planning a Vala hyper carry.
Yeah, despite having the Tassadar banned out right away. So here come the first 2 picks, and it's Li Ming and Rhaegar. So you got
I
half
like the Rhaegar.
of your wish there with the Rhaegar pick. Before we talk more about picks and bans, just to catch everyone up with Division C here, I've got the standings up on the screen here, so you can see how things shook out at the end of the regular season. And what you might notice if you're looking at this is a lot of teams have the same score. So Reborn Knights Black, Duratan's Couch, All for Waifu all ended the season with 15 points, and you also had Clouded Minds and Team Conflict finishing with 8 points each. Those were all resolved through a series of arcane tiebreaker rules, or in the case of Clouded Minds and Team Conflicts, an actual tiebreaker match. So what you're seeing on your screen is the actual standings as things ended up in the season. So tonight, it's Witch Rhythm in the number 1 seed, taking on Frank's Furters in the number 8 seed. Next, we'll see, the 2 versus 7, 3 versus 6, 4 versus 5, and so on. So with that out of the way, I'll get these graphics down, and Needens, catch us up with the draft.
Well, interesting Rainer pick. That lets me think there's some kind of plan with him. Now, I don't know if it's a comfort pick or there's a strat that I don't know about that involves Rainer, but it's interesting. And with the Ariel being picked as a healer, Ariel is extremely vulnerable to poke. So I wouldn't be shocked to see a Chromie pick right here on the side of Witch Rhythm, because Chromie provides free poke for long fights. Ariel tends to struggle with long fights that involve a lot of poke, and there's already a lean Ming. Now, Chromie wouldn't be great because there'd be a double mage, but any amount of poke damage is gonna go in the favor of Witch Rhythm pretty heavily on these long kind of standoffish fights around the objective. I'm also curious if they're going to stick with a solo heal Ariel on Frank's Furters, because that tends not to be the meta. But if they have a strat, maybe it can work out. Strong picks here. I like this. Double healer with Lucio Rhaegar. They have sustain heal.
Oh!
There it is. There is that hidden strat that I didn't know about. I'm not sure why Raynor specifically. Maybe the giant killer was something they're concerned about.
Well, look, Division C is nothing if not exciting to watch, and it seems like that tradition is going to continue here with Cho'Gall being locked in. Now, as you mentioned, this is a little bit strange given that we have Vala, Raynor, and Cho'Gall, so one support, 3 or 4 threats, depending on how you look at it. I guess Gall is sort of, or Cho is the tank in this composition, but often with Cho'Gall, we see like 2 supports going with that.
Or a bruiser in a solo main. Questionable. Right now, they have a Cocoon on a Nubarak. They have Lucio, Sound Barrier, and Ancestral. They're going to look for something percentage-based here, but they have a lot of options because they've drafted a healer early and a tank now. So now they have their counter pick, and there it is. There's a Cursed Bullet. They'll probably show up here in a team fight. Now, I'm wondering, does Witch Rhythm cocoon the Cho'Gall, or do they cocoon the Ariel?
Yeah, that's a really good question, because obviously the Cho'Gall is sort of the centerpiece of this comp, but on the other hand, without Oriel, does the whole thing just collapse? I guess what might happen is, what can you hit? Who is available in the team fight?
Right.
If you have your choice, what do you think would be the best one to get rid of?
Right. I think honestly the Oriel is usually the better one, because you don't want to cocoon a Cho'Gall, almost get a kill, and then have a full health Cho'Gall burst out of a cocoon when your team just committed a lot of resources to another kill. But another interesting fact is nobody drafted Global Presence, which I find interesting. The Dahaka was banned, so there's no global opportunities here, which means the macro game is going to be extremely important for both teams here, especially with Frank's Furters picking a Cho'Gall. They may struggle with the solo lane, they may struggle with the map presence. So I'm curious what their laning situation might be. I assume they're going to have Raynor top solo. He has some sustain with his E ability, or not ability, but his E passive.
Right.
Interesting draft. I've never quite seen a draft like that, and I'm sure the Raynor was picked to counter. They didn't want the giant killer. But then again, they gave up a Greymane.
There's the Greymane, yeah. So I hope that they have something else in mind with that Raynor, but I guess we'll just have to see. And it looks like we have an immediate pause as we get into game number 1. But better now than later, I suppose.
Yeah, for sure. Now, another thing to remember is Witch Rhythm did not draft a dedicated solo lane either. So whichever heroes they decide to put in a top lane, maybe they would go for a 2-1-2 or some kind of different split or non-meta split. But another team with a solo laner is kind of a big deal to me. I think that's maybe a misplay on both teams' draft. You can't ever... The value of having a strong solo laner that wins that top lane and guarantees XP and an extra free push is pretty big. So I guess it balances out. Nobody has one. So I don't know. We'll see. I'm curious in the laning situation here.
It's definitely an interesting draft for sure, for so many reasons. Like you said, the lack of any global presence hero, no Dahaka, no Brightwing, which we've seen so much of lately.
Right.
That's the big one that stands out to me. What do you make of taking like Lucio and the Rhaegar versus one of those being a Brightwing?
The Brightwing provides disengage with Emerald Wind, provides global presence, extra shielding, spell damage reduction. You could interchange Lucio and Brightwing sometimes in team fights, but the big difference is Brightwing doesn't provide any immediate snap damage healing. Rhaegar has burst healing with his ancestral and shields. Lucio has shields and AoE sustain. The Brightwing can be good for the global, but if they want to commit to a brawling comp, which both teams have clearly committed to a brawling comp, I guess you fight fire with fire in the situation. Still, I agree. I think a Brightwing would have been optimal for Witch Rhythm to have a global presence. They would have had a huge advantage over Frank's Furters. But like I said, we'll see how these laning matchups go. I wonder what they're going to do. I really don't know. I have no idea what's going to happen here with this game.
Yeah, neither do I, and that's what makes it so exciting. Over on the other side for Frank's Furters, Dallying Pig, team captain, is playing Oriole, and it almost feels like this was like an Oriole just deciding everyone is going to be an Oriole battery in this match. I don't want to have to think about where my Halo is going. I just want to be able to click it on somebody and get hope.
This is true. No,
because
any target's decent.
Vala can do it. Raynor can do it. Cho'Gall certainly can do it.
The only thing that I'm worried about for Frank's Furters is the sustain. They're not going to be able to have a 5-man Oriole heal every 4 seconds. That's not realistic. Whereas Witch Rhythm has pretty gnarly sustain in team fights. I mean, AoE heals on both healers, burst healing, shields, cleanse, mobility with Lucio abilities. I don't know. I'm curious. At the same time, they may have a hard time burning down Cho'Gall without that cursed bullet. I mean, their only percentage-based damage is the cursed bullet. So if it whiffs, or it gets healed, or they can kite back after it. I mean, Witch Rhythm just gave up all of their impactful damage on the Cho'Gall. Now, I think Cho'Gall being the main tank here is a misplay. I think the Cho'Gall is going to be under fire constantly. They have no other front line to take damage away. So hopefully Witch Rhythm can pressure the Cho'Gall. I think that's their team fight win condition. But that's up to them to play it out well. I don't know. Li Ming can't really do a whole lot of relevant damage against Cho'Gall.
All right. Well, it looks like our player who had to take a bathroom break is back. So we're getting back into things now. And I'm doing a countdown, even though we're at the very start of the game. It's not even that important. But we are now into game number 1 in this Division C quarterfinal match between Witch Rhythm and Frank's Furters. So over on the blue side, we have Witch Rhythm. We've got Epsilon playing Rhaegar. King Dunce skating around on Lucio. Rad, going to be riding a pretty rad motorcycle on Greymane. Zofafni playing Li Ming, and Blitz on Anubarak.
On the right side, Frank's Furters, Ariel played by Dallying Pig, Gaul played by Bog, Swala, Kind Sir, Indecisive on the Cho, and Cruncher on Raynor.
Let the battle begin.
All right, so this match is finally underway here. It looks like everyone is heading towards the mid lane to start things off. I would certainly expect that out of Frank's Furters, given the composition they've played. Indbogs here just going very far forward.
Initial stun good. No Ming damage. Going to be a lot of poke. The poke is going to be the key to these fights. Vala caught out of position there, but they'll vault away.
Yeah, I'm interested to see how long the teams wait in this configuration before people start splitting off. It's kind of a game of chicken here, as whoever goes first leaves the rest of the team potentially vulnerable to an engagement. It looks like Kind Sir is going to start heading up top, while Epsilon on Rhaegar does the same down bottom.
Rhaegar bottom. Now, here's the key. These top and bottom lanes with Rhaegar and Greymane, they both have wave clear. Vala probably won't win against the Greymane. I mean, he's just too much AA, and Rhaegar has his own self-sustain and wave clear, whereas Raynor struggles with the wave clear. So, in the mid brawl, the Ariel falling.
Yeah, that's the first blood going over to Witch Rhythm as Oriole just gets surrounded and deleted, unable to sustain herself, and Indbog's not really able to help her out too much either. So first kill of the game happening in the mid lane.
Interesting. The Ariel positioning, she was pretty far out there too on the other side of the map, so I wonder if the positioning will be a problem. Now, she did go for the increased clarity at level 1, the damage build, so the Ariel should be able to pack a punch late game when she finishes that quest.
So what you're telling me is it's just DPS all across the board here for Frank's Furters. Kind Sir is coming down. Inbog's getting a little bit low, but it is Cho'Gall. The DPS, like you said, the poke damage coming out of Witch Rhythm here definitely seems to be wearing down the red health bars. And
then you see that Cho'Gall, they're out of combat, but they can't heal up with the healer. Vala's half health right now with her fountain down. So the poke damage is going to be essential. I think Frank's Furters wants a fast, in-your-face fight. That's how they're going to win these. And if the fight lasts longer than 10 seconds, the sustain on Witch Rhythm is going to be superior.
All right, it looks like Frank's Furters is trying to disrupt the tower take over on the top left side. Cho'Gall and Oriole there just kind of getting in the face of Rad and Blitz, but it seems like that was just a temporary situation, as they're just going to trade off the top turrets. Meanwhile, Epsilon is going to get the bottom one, so that's early advantage over to Witch Rhythm, getting 2 out of the 3 early altars.
And Cruncher struggling bottom against the Rhaegar, and actually falls to the Rhaegar. The lane sustain and the wave clear just win. I'd be
Rhaegar just
curious to
getting a
see
nice
the Walla
kill.
die too. Yeah, yeah. I mean, Rhaegar can put out some damage. You can't sleep on Rhaegar. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely. And so far, the early pressure definitely going in the favor of Witch Rhythm. They're the only ones with kills. They got the advantage in the early altar phase. But, you know, this game is still very young. What do you think happens at level 10? Does one team strike you as getting more out of that than the other?
I think Witch Rhythm's level 10 is superior ultimately. Lavala went Q build, Rainer's auto attack like usual. I think the Hyperion is going to have to be perfectly placed, and I don't know honestly which alts Vala should go, but it seems like the Cocoon, the Cursed Bullet, and the Sound Barrier are gonna win these team fights. So I'd like to see Frank's Furters be more aggressive, maybe ignore a lane even and look for picks. Right now we have Ariel looking for a pick on Greyman on Rad. But he'll be able to kite away, no problem.
Yeah,
With
nice
Q
juke
there on Vala.
Getting out of that green arrow. So Cho'Gall just kind of taking on mid lane by himself at the moment. He's been able to withstand some pressure from Blitz and King Duns, getting some DPS down onto the structures, but yeah, we're certainly not seeing any aggressive moves out of Frank's Furters here.
Frank's Furters is responding, and I think when you're playing Cho'Gall, you need to be the aggressor. You need to make the other team respond to you because they're losing the experience game. They're almost a full level down, and Raynor is not winning that bottom lane by any means. And all the while, Rhaegar was camping and got that camp, and they have structures down now. There's no towers anymore left bottom lane, which is vulnerable. Once they hit 10, look for which of them to push bottom. Cho'Gall in a bad position here.
Yeah, he's definitely able to soak up a lot of damage. We've seen him just in the middle of 2 or even 3 Witch Rhythm players and able to walk out alive, but at the same time, he's not really able to intimidate anyone else. Meanwhile, Lucio just got a kill onto Oriel. That's going to be a big problem if Frank's Furters wants to get this altar, and I think Cho'Gall is about to die.
Cho'Gall's going down at the poke damage. I'd be shocked if Frank's Furters went into any brawler fight with full health. That's going to be a consistent issue with the solo heal Ariel. You can't count on getting heals out of combat, and when you need to focus on macro game like this map is heavy macro, they're going to struggle to be full health. Yeah, now the Witch Rhythm closing in on level 9, a full level and a half ahead, and now they have bottom captured. They've established early map control here, and I'd like to see Witch Rhythm secure the snowball and be aggressive here, look for some kills. But Frank's Furters, I think they need to ignore the lanes. They have an even talent tier right now, and now is their time to fight. I want to see Oriel and Cho'Gall rotate down.
Oh, well, that's 2 quick kills going over to Li Ming right down there on the bottom. All right,
so that won't happen.
I'm getting word that the stream is lagging out for some reason. I don't know why that is. But what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to close Discord for the moment and just see what that does. So we're both going to still be observing this game, but we're going to lose Needens on the stream for a moment as I try to sort this out. Apologies for the technical difficulties. All right, so the stream is still happening right now, and we've got everybody clustering around mid. Level 10 has been achieved by Witch Rhythm right now. That's definitely a pretty rough start here for Frank's Furters, as they're 2 levels down. They've lost a few altars already. The big team fight happening right now. Dalian Pig getting very low, and that's Oriel getting dropped. Once again, Lucio picking up the kill onto the enemy support. Kind Sir now just having to run away, getting some return damage, but someone in a cocoon there is about to get ruined, and it is Cho'Gall getting body blocked very effectively by Witch Rhythm, but he does manage to get through. But the knock-up from Anubarak almost secures the kill, but not quite, as Cho'Gall does manage to walk away from that. But Frank's Furters is really having a rough go as Vala gets assassinated by Zofafni once again.
You have done well, heroes. Let the Gravekeeper know my power.
So to all the listeners, let me know if the stream is better now that Discord has been closed. It seems to me that Discord has been a source of issues for me streaming in the past. Whenever I don't have Discord open, everything is fine, and whenever I do, something usually goes wrong. I'm keeping an eye on things over in the stream myself to see what's going on. In the meantime, I'm going to keep following this game, hoping that you can watch what is happening here. Kindser trying to pick up some XP in the top lane, and that will give level 10 over to Frank's Furters, who are now on a somewhat more even keel. They've got some pretty key heroics picked up. The Crystal Aegis from Oreo going to be very important to try to save somebody's life. But Frank's Furters right now are just basically stuck in their base. They cannot even walk out of this safety zone. So very sad times for Frank's Furters at the moment. All right, so it does seem that Discord, unfortunately, was causing lagging for some reasons, which means I will not be able to get Needens back for the co-commentary for game number 1. For game number 2, I'll use an alternate chat service to try to get him back in the action. So apologies to Needens, apologies to the viewers for that interruption, but I am glad to see that things have smoothed out now. So, getting back into the game, Frank's Furters definitely on the back foot right now. They've been under pressure this entire game. It's 9 kills to 0, level 12 to level 10, 36 to 21 core health. It's time now for this Cho'Gall comp to show what it can do. But just like that, Raynor gets isolated and ruined. Cho'Gall sitting in that cocoon right now. Witch Rhythm going to surround him, going to try to get the kill on Dallying Pig, and they do. Wave of Force just putting her into harm's way even more. King Cho'Gall just going to walk away there, but that's going to be another altar going over to Witch Rhythm, this number 1 seed coming in to prove that they deserved to finish the regular season in the number 1 position. Epsilon now channeling that altar, and it doesn't look like Cho'Gall is going to be able to do anything about it.
And mine alone.
Boom.
Your powers will be mine, Gravekeeper, like all the others.
So it's still kind of unclear what exactly Frank's Furters was trying to do with his team composition. As Needens pointed out, it's a very strange combination of heroes. It's unclear to me exactly what the Raynor's role here is, and why not have another either bruiser or support to go with the Cho'Gall, but we'll see if they can do something with it. Getting some decent damage onto Zofafni, but not enough to threaten a kill, especially with 2 supports there. I don't even think Frank's Furters is going to be able to get this Pumpkinhead man camp, as it's just going to be Witch Rhythm dominating this territory, taking out the Cho'Gall's Eye of Spying. And, alright, Cho'Gall's going in, getting some damage onto King Dunce. Stasis has already been used on Dallying Pig, who's getting blocked in by Blitz. Cocoon goes down onto the Cho'Gall. Ancestral Healing goes down onto Blitz, and it looks like it's just going to be a disengage from both sides. Greymane, during that whole engage, was up top, pushing in some minions, getting more XP for his team. Frank's Furters here, they seem to feel like they might be able to get something. The Cruncher face checks a brush, and he walks away. Cho'Gall now getting into the front. Blitz goes right in, gets some nice stuns onto Dallying Pig, and that's going to be the Oriole, I believe, falling. No, still alive for the moment. Rat actually might go down, and that's a Greymane. Killed, finally. Cho'Gall finally gets a kill. Epsilon about to follow up next, or not. Very low. Can the Hungering Arrow land? It cannot. But that's another kill onto Rhaegar. Frank's Furters finally finding their footing in this game, getting some nice kills on the board, and perhaps a key morale boost as well. How much structural damage can they put down onto the base?
Yes, heroes, activate the towers. The Raven Lord will fall.
Cruncher and... oh, Cruncher is doomed. That's the end there. That Wave of Force being really nicely used by Zofafni. Sometimes you might think that the... what is it? Arcane Laser Archon. Whatever it's called. Would be the pick, but that Wave of Force being really key here to misposition the other team, get them into a zone they don't want to be in, interrupt. It's worked out pretty well so far for securing some kills. A lot of fighting going on over this altar. Cocoon is down. Oriel having to use the Aegis on herself, but she dies as soon as she comes out. What can Cho'Gall do now? Surrounded by 5 members of the other team. All he can do is try to escape by the looks of things. The Shadow Bolt volley kind of just sprayed into thin air there.
Heroes, I have opened a tunnel near our core that leads to the battleground center. Use it well.
What? I mean, I knew I could do that. I've opened my tunnel as well.
Needens, are you there?
We're back in action.
All right, yeah, so Discord was causing lagging for some reason. I'm hoping that the BattleNet chat will do a little better. I apologize if the sound balance is off. This is a kind of on-the-fly technical adjustment here. Hopefully it works out. So, Needens, man, this game is kind of a pain train.
Almost a comeback. We had a couple kills go towards Frank's Furters at one point, but then they weren't quite grouped, and now they're trying to cling on for life. They're not the same talent tier, and they're giving up 3 extra shots bottom.
The altars rising.
The boss is secured, so that's safe. They're all Hearthing. Either of these towers, either of these altars is GG with no bottom tower. They need to just go ham.
They have
right
10
now. seconds
to get to Zovophony in the bottom lane there. I guess plus the whatever 3 seconds it takes to channel, but I don't think they're going to make it.
I don't think.
Which for them doing a
this is
nice
gonna be
job
tricky-
screening here, distracting the members of Frank's Furters. Li Ming is
Ming cap at
channeling
bottom.
that
Ariel.
altar right now, and that's going to be
G.
Kablamo.
You know what I'm saying? Well played by Witch for them. They played against the comp well. I think Frank's Furters had a plan. I think it didn't execute as well, but it was a good game nonetheless. Interesting to watch for sure.
Yeah, it was an interesting game to watch. I think we're still a little bit confused as to what exactly Frank's Furters was going for with that comp. They did get that one team fight that made it look like, hey, maybe they were onto something, and they got a nice couple of kills.
Yeah.
But in the end, it just was kind of an isolated incident of success amid a sea of disaster for Frank's Furters, as the #1 seed Witch Rhythm proved why they deserve to finish in first. But that's not over. That's just game 1 of this series. It is a best of 3, so we're going to be looking for game number 2. Frank's Furters will have the choice of either map selection or hero selection. So we'll get that set up, and we will be right back in just a few short moments with game number 2. Don't go anywhere.
hollow.
Welcome back to Bludgeon TV. We are watching the quarterfinals match between Witch Rhythm and Frank's Furters. This is the start of the playoffs for Division C. This is a best-of-3 match, and Witch Rhythm just finished dominating Frank's Furters on Towers of Doom. So that meant Frank Furters had the option for game number 2 of either selecting the map or choosing to have first hero pick. They decided they wanted first hero pick for this map, and so Witch Rhythm has selected Curse Hollow for this game number 2. I would like to welcome back my co-caster, who we lost due to some technical difficulties halfway through game number 1, but I hope we can keep for the rest of this match. Needens, how's it going?
Pretty well. Pretty well.
Am I pronouncing that right, by the way?
You pronounce it exactly perfectly, but any pronunciation works for me. Just do it.
Okay. Well, we'll stick with that one. So, yeah, game 1, a little bit crazy. What do you make of Frank's Furters going for hero pick? What does that tell you about a team when they want first hero more than they want to choose a map?
Well, their last comp with the Young Cho Gal pick made it seem like they had a draft in mind. Now, if they have first pick, I'm hoping that they have a draft strategy that they feel comfortable playing. I don't want to see cheese. If you're down a game in a best-of-3, it's usually better to play your comfort as opposed to trying any particular strat or combo. So I like to see comfort picks. Now, I'm not familiar with the players, but I still stand by that. They went for the Vala last game for a first pick. They banned the Dahaka, which makes me think they want a global hero. The Dahaka is usually banned when you have an Abathur composition in mind. So I wouldn't be shocked to see an Abathur come out here. Even first picking it to make sure you get it. As Dahaka can have that global and be back in the lane, across the big map Cursed Hollow is, to counter any extra push they get.
Yeah, we've seen Garrosh consistently banned in both these games so far. I think Frank's Furters banned it in game 1, if I'm not mistaken, which were them banning it here in game number 2. Just a hero that a lot of people just don't want to have to bother with. I've seen so many players flipped over walls into enemy forts and just wrecked that way. So, unfortunately, we're not going to get to see that this time.
No, he throws a monkey wrench into the early game, that's for sure, and he kind of disrupts a lot of fights. The Nubarak first pick, that's what I want to see. I want to see tanks and healers picked early in these drafts. When you pick your damage early, you set yourself up to be countered by your primary damage. So the Nubarak pick is all around strong. He's strong against mages. He's cocooned to make it a 4v5. And he has 2 baseline stuns. You just can't go wrong with your Nubarak pick. Now, Witch Rhythm here, I'm curious to see what they go with. I'd also like them to go ahead and pick up their healer and a tank. They go for the global, though, which is also a good call, and they got the Rhaegar. Rhaegar is just, he has a cleanse, he has burst heal, he has AoE heal, he has shields, he has wave clear. Rhaegar is an all-around solid healer. You can't go wrong with a Rhaegar pick, so I'd like to see that again. It worked for them last game.
Yeah, so the Anubarak being swiped away from Witch Rhythm this game. Frank's Furters saw how effective it was against them in the last game. Definitely set up so many of their kills, so they're going to not have to deal with it this time. Hopefully they can make use of it themselves. Falstad coming out, so there's the global. I mean, Cursed Hollow is another really large map. This is another map where being able to move around quickly, getting from one place to another is very valuable. So right now, Witch Rhythm has that on their side. Frank's Furters does not as we come into the second ban phase.
Yeah. Now, what's interesting is I think Witch Rhythm is onto them. I think they know they're going to go for a kind of 4-man kind of death volley comp. Now, what Falstad provides not only a global, he can solo lane against most good solo laners. He also has Gust for disengage. What that means is Witch Rhythm gets to pick which fights they want, and if a fight's not going their way, they can Gust away Frank's Furters. So that's a really strong pick for them. And with the Vala pickup and the Uther now, Frank's Furters comp is just all around standard good. The Tyrael pick now, though, kind of is something that most people don't play against and don't plan for. So I like the Tyrael pick here. And Tyrael provides boss control on the map with 2 bosses. And that can be essential late game, especially with the Gust, Holy Ground. A lot of boss control on Witch Rhythm.
Yeah, that's a really good point. They'll be able to push people away off those boss points and make them unable to get back onto it. We also now see invulnerabilities for both teams, so there could be some team fights that last a while if we've got Divine Shield on top of Sanctification. Notice the ETC was banned away by Frank's Furters, which was another potential global taken away. Interesting picks coming out here in the end here. Zarya and then Jaina Malfurion.
Yeah, well, they have a lot of damage. There's double heals for long team fights. Uther for the D shield. I'm assuming Divine Shield. A lot of damage. Double healer strong. Mouth has anti-dive, which is really strong against Ethereal. So I like that. I like the Mouth pickup for the Twilight Dream if that's their direction. It keeps the false dead Ethereal from getting too frisky. Dive in that back line. With these choke points on this map, it's easy to be out of position. So I wouldn't be shocked to see Ethereal false dad get Twilight Dreamed when they play too aggressively. Strong comp. I think that maybe Frankfurters lacks some front line. They also don't have a solo laner this time. They don't have a dedicated solo laner or a global. So this is Witch Rhythm's game, their macro to lose here. I think their macro is superior now with the fall stat just by the fact of being one global against none.
Yeah, I've got to say, I'm still a little bit surprised not to see Brightwing coming through in this draft. It could be just that it's something these teams haven't used enough in the past to be ready to pull out in playoffs. As we see an Illidan being picked last here for Witch Rhythm, which in a way can also be a sort of a global ability depending on how they decide to use it.
You know, here's what I got to say about the Illidan pickup. They do have a Zarya and a Tyrael, which have shields to protect Illidan and help him dive. And Rhaegar provides the Ancestral when it's needed. The problem is, Jaina has slows early game and AoE spell damage. Malfurion has roots, Twilight Dream. Uther has potentially 2 big stuns. Vala has a stun, and Nubarak has 2 stuns, and Cocoon. There is a lot of tools to deal with an Illidan, so the Illidan is going to have to play, I mean, close to perfect to win a team fight if it's a fair 5-on-5. I think honestly, which of them. They have a losing draft now with the Illidan pickup last. They're going to have to play aggressively, and they're going to have to look for early kills and team fights, I think, for the Illidan to work out. But we'll see how it goes.
We certainly will, as game number 1 is now underway in this best-of-3 match for the Division C quarterfinals. Over on the left-hand side in the blue, we have Witch Rhythm, Zofafni this game, flying around on Falstad, rad with that pretty rad Illidan getup. We've got Blitz on Tyrael, Epsilon playing Rhaegar for the second game in a row, and King Dunce coming in on Zarya.
And on the right side, Dallying Pig on Nubarak, Cruncher on Jaina, Boggs on Mouth, Indecision on Uther, and Kind Sir on the Lala.
All right, so we're rocking and rolling. Definitely another interesting draft with another interesting last pick coming in this time. The Illidan definitely making us all kind of wonder what is going to happen. The team's currently splitting up. Witch Rhythm going into the bottom lane, just going to start wailing on those structures right off the bat, catching Frankfurters off guard by the looks of things. They're going to now respond, but it doesn't seem like they were ready for that.
No, but I like the response. Instead of splitting up and hoping to mitigate damage, just push mid. They have a Nubarak, which has Beetles. They can push just as fast. They have the damage with the Vala, they have the Siege. So now it looks like it's going to be a race. Unfortunately, Witch Rhythm's favored here because they have a Fort taking damage on a boss lane, whereas Frankfurters is pushing the middle lane. So I think this is a good trade for Witch Rhythm. This is what they need. They're also setting up an early open lane to a keep with their boss lane, which is a smart macro decision here. I like this.
Yeah, and it seems like they definitely have the jump on Frankfurters here. That fort is already gone, whereas the mid fort is only now falling for Frankfurters, and it looks like Witch Rhythm just says, we can keep this going all day, as they're now starting to take down the keep wall.
They can do that. Rad's a little low on health, but the shields and the push is strong. I like to see Frankfurters just back and accept the losses at this point. Now they're losing keep wall on a boss lane. That is not ideal.
I want to know how long this is going to go on for. Neither team showing any signs of backing out just yet. Illidan already flipping over that keep. That keep is going to go down in the mid lane, and Frankfurter says, okay, we'll take your mid keep.
Now look at the mana bars. The mana bars of Frankfurters. They're getting low. A Nubarak can't do this forever.
Are they just going to go straight for the core? This could be one of the fastest games we have ever seen here, as Witch Rhythm decides they are changing the rhythm up on this game entirely. This
Frankfurter is hesitating to back. They have no mana. Now they're deciding to back, but I think it's too late. There's a lot
Some of them are
damage going
backing,
out.
some of them are going onto the core. Vala now is back, Keinster and Boggs, but the core's already down to 30%. Nice triple root. A couple of kills are falling down. One is gone. Rad is still there, down to 20 health. He goes down, but the core falls already in game 2, and the series goes over to Wits Rhythm in one of the most ridiculous games I think I have ever seen.
That was a game. That was a game. The commitment to the strat for which of them paid off. I think Frank's Furters could have very easily mitigated that damage and made the game. I think they had the superior comp. I think if they waited for a team fight and just played the map out, that they would have eventually won that game. I think they had a stronger comp there to deal with their strategy. But I mean, hey, if you push a lane and deathball it, and the team doesn't, they want to race you, then race it is.
Oh my god.
The Zarya and the Illidan are superior in this situation. So,
is this what the Illidan pick was about?
You know, I don't think which of them anticipated a lane death push for core, but it works if that's the call. I mean, hey, they have the Zarya shields, they have Tyrael shields, they have Rhaegar healing, they have auto attack with the false dad and the Illidan. It worked.
I mean, that was like a 3-minute game.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
I mean,
so we saw Frank's Furters go into the mid lane, you know, just like that's what you do at the start of the game, right? Everyone runs into the mid lane.
Early game brawl.
Witch Rhythm says, let's just run to the bottom lane. And at first I thought, okay, well, they chose different lanes. We'll see somebody go up to the other lane and whatever. Witch Rhythm then decides, no, we're going right onto those towers. And I do really wonder if this was their plan the whole time. They go immediately onto the structures. Frank's Furters takes about, I don't know, 3 or 4 seconds to realize what's happening. Decide, fine, we'll go for the structures as well. But then neither team backs away. Witch Rhythm, they had the jump. They started sooner. They were not incentivized to go back. And Frank's Furters, I guess, they just didn't want to look chicken. What happened there?
Yeah, I think that was a game of chicken. I think they were saying who will back first, but which of them had the superior push. They don't have mana bars. Frank's Furters, they suffered with all they had was Vala for siege, Vala auto attack. So I mean, I don't think that was the plan, but I think they were more than happy. I think which of them is more than happy to call that bluff.
Yeah, plan or not, they certainly were able to identify that it was going to work. They knew that if the situation just kept going as it was, they were going to end. And I didn't think they were going to keep going for the core. I thought, oh, they'll get 2 keeps. But they just kept on going, and Frankfurters was not able to handle it. So, Needens, give me your final thoughts on this match. I've got to try to set up an interview. I got to figure out what the heck Witch Rhythm was thinking there.
I don't know. I think they had a plan, but that worked out. I mean, hey. They drafted the Illidan regardless of all the counters, so they were committed to their strategy. But I mean, that also works.
It's amazing, and it's also a little bit sad. I was definitely looking forward to seeing how that game was going to play out with these kind of interesting team comps. I was looking forward to the boss control from the Tyrael. I was looking forward to the immunities on both sides. But we didn't get it.
I don't know. That's game. That was game 2 of the best of 3. So I don't know what else. I don't know what else to do. That's a classic AI Sylvanas comp right there.
All right. Well, let me take a short break here. I'm going to see if I can get us an interview with somebody from Witch Rhythm. So don't touch that dial. We'll be right back. All right, we are back online after that crazy game 2 to finish out the series between Witch Rhythm and Frank's Furters. I've got an interview right now with Witch Rhythm team captain Blitz. Blitz, how you feeling?
Oh, what's up, man? We're feeling good. We're chilling.
You're chilling. All right. Well, what was going on? Was that your plan the whole time for game number 2?
I mean, I can't say that our plan was to win a game in 2 minutes and 20 seconds. You know, but
Just say it.
I mean, oh yeah, that was our plan the whole time. You know, we've been on the boards for a week straight, just studying how to beat this team, and that's what we came up with, is beating them in 2 minutes and 20 seconds.
Okay, but for real, tell me what you were talking about in the early stages of the game. What was the plan, and at which point, like, did you realize this is what was going to happen?
Well, you know, I mean, we decided first things first before it even started. We were just going to go bot and try to get as much value on that bottom wall as we could get. And then they started racing us, and we knew we had better race than them, and they didn't commit quick enough. So we thought we could get farther than they could in less time. So we just went with it. And as it went on and kept going, the forts fell. We are on keep wall, and they're not even on our keep wall. We were just like, let's go. And as soon as that keep went down, it was a core call, and that was it.
Well played. I mean, you had the Zarya shields. You had 2 heroes with no mana bars who did a lot of siege damage. So that comp worked out for that strategy. I'm surprised that there wasn't a bluff called, but I mean, good on you for the calls. It was close though. It was almost a throw there at the end. You had a couple deaths, but I mean, it worked out. I don't really know what else to say. Well, I do want to ask. You drafted an Illidan last pick into a comp with loads of crowd control. Did you have a strat planned on, or was the Illidan pick, something you decided in the draft?
For sure. Yeah, we decided in the draft. It wasn't something that we had planned before, but we just felt we have confidence in Rad to perform on Illidan, even into a comp that may not be very favorable. So we just went with it, and in the end, it didn't matter because he had 0 hero damage.
Yeah, the trust was there. The trust was there, and it worked out, I guess. But good on you. Game.
All right, so I mean, let's talk a little bit about game 1, even though it's hard to even remember it after what just happened. But it was Towers of Doom, and again, I mean, you guys were fairly dominant in that game, aside from maybe one team fight that went the wrong way. But what was going through your minds when you saw the team comp drafted by Frank's Furters in game number 1?
You know, I'm not going to lie, we didn't think they would pull out the Trogal, especially on that map, but, you know, they did, and instead of... It's really easy to see the Cho'Gall and go to Tilt City, but we were like, no, we can beat this. We're not worried about it. We felt like we had better map control and the better team fight. They had a good... That's a scary comp on paper, you know, but
yeah.
I feel like we dealt with it just like you should.
In your opinion, what was the Rainer doing there? I couldn't quite figure that out.
Man, me either. I
Okay.
I don't know, man. I was kind of focused on what we had going for us and just picking out whoever got out of position. We had enough dive to do that. So
you didn't draft a solo laner in that game. Is there a reason, or was your composition requiring you not to have a solo laner or a global? I feel like usually there's a global picked on that map, like Dahaka or anything. I mean, Malthael. Did you intentionally not pick a solo laner?
I mean, honestly, we never really even talked about having a solo laner. I think we just kind of went more in the team fight direction. We didn't think that they could out-soak us with 4 people, or 4 bodies on the map, rather. So we weren't super worried about it, and we just thought, as long as we can rotate to these objectives quickly and efficiently and not get caught out against the Cho'Gall, and, once we got 10, having the Anub'arak ult, it was just...
Yeah, isolation was strong for sure.
Dry, yeah.
All right, well, this match is now out of the way. You have made it to the semifinals, where you will face off against the winner of All for Waifu or Late Game, though. How do you feel about that matchup? Is there any team between those two you'd prefer to go up against? Anyone you're more worried about? What do you think?
We're not really worried about anybody. They both took a game off of us, and respect, where respect is due, but we feel like we're the better team, and we're not really worried about whoever we face the rest of this playoff,
Yeah, I mean, you finished number 1 in the regular season. I think you're allowed to go into a match with confidence, no doubt.
Yeah, for sure. We have respect for these other teams. We feel that there's a lot of talent in Div C, but we're here to win, and we believe that we can. So that's kind of the attitude that we go forth with.
Okay, well then let me put it to you this way: with all of the remaining teams in the playoffs for Division C, who do you think would give you the biggest challenge in a final?
Who's on the other side of the bracket? I know.
Reborn Knights,
It's
Black
Reborn
Team
Knights.
Conflict, Duratan's Couch, Clouded Minds.
I'm gonna be honest. All 4 of those teams we really enjoyed playing against. They were all really cool, and they're competitive. I really think that Reborn Knights Black is one of the better teams in this division. They may have fallen off at very few times, but I think they have a lot of talent, and I think they have a good chance to pull through on their side of the bracket.
All right, Needens, any more thoughts before we close this out?
No, I think that wish you luck, and that was good games, interesting games for sure. Well played on both parts.
All right, well, thank you to Blitz for the interview. Thank you to Needens for joining me tonight, and thank you to everyone watching. This has been the Nexus Gaming Series Playoffs. Tune in Wednesday when I will be bringing to you that match between Duratan's Couch and Clouded Minds. One of these two might go up against Wish Rhythm in a finals.